Hey, what's going on, everybody? I got my usual crew with me, Darnell and Tyler. I'm Trey, and we're coming your way with the 13th edition of the Don't Kill the Messengers podcast. First thing we're about to get into is a little UFC. Just been announced this week that at UFC 198, my girl Cyborg will be making her debut. Darnell, what are your thoughts on Cyborg finally getting into the UFC?
I don't find it to be that huge of a deal because the UFC is already couching it by not making her drop to the real, like the highest weight class they have, which is 135. Her first fight is at a catch weight of 140 against a basically middling fighter in Leslie Smith. She's 2-2 in the UFC and 8-6 through her career with one draw. And they're basically, I give her props for stepping up to fight Cyborg, who, is a monster, but it's just, she might just be that one that could be a draw every now and then because of the novelty of just how built she is and strong of a fighter. But unless they build a 145 weight division, I don't see her ever making any noise as far as getting a belt. It's just going to be people coming up, gaining 5 or 10 pounds to fight her, which is the case with Leslie Smith, who she's fighting, who has fought as light as 120. So
wow.
I don't see this being too long of a fight.
With me, you know me. I like Cyborg. She's coming into the UFC. I think that's good on her. But naturally, the thing with Cyborg, I was telling Tyler earlier before the show started, she naturally walks around like 175, 185. So for her to get down that low, she's putting a lot on her body, to get down to that low of a weight at 140. So I would hope, I would love to see her and Rousey finally get into the ring and fight. But I'm still pessimistic about that because I don't think that fight will just happen with just how the whole cutting weight and everything, and just Rousey being the top girl in the business right now. So you take in, she's just fighting at 140. You just had a girl just had to make that much of a weight gain. They fought as low as 120 to fight her. I just don't think that, I think it's good that she's finally getting to the UFC, but I don't think I would see her fighting yet in a dream match of a Rousey versus Cyborg. So absolutely think this girl is talented, but I don't really see her getting to a 135 to fight Rousey, just by just how much she has to cut weight anyway, just to get down there, because she walks around, I think, around 175, 185. So that's a huge weight loss gap to get to.
Do you think she'll make 140 for this fight?
Honestly, no. Because I originally, I thought it was 145 that they were going to fight at. But yeah, you just broke it to me that it's actually 140. To lose that much weight, man, that is a lot of weight to lose. And the thing about her is when she's naturally walking around at that weight, she's just already just in such great shape and everything. That's putting a lot of stress and demand on her body just to get down that low. So I don't think she's going to be able to make 140. What about yourself?
Yeah, I agree. I'm waiting to see that because she's missed weight at 145, which is the division that she's won titles at. So
yeah,
I'm definitely wondering about that. And I also kind of feel this is the UFC putting money over things that they've already said as far as promoting fighter safety. Over the last year, they've tried to say they want to start cutting down on how much weight they'll let their fighters cut. They ban using IVs to rehydrate because that just promotes people draining all the water out of their bodies. But what else is she going to do to get to 140 or 135 outside of basically dehydrate herself to death?
Yeah.
It just, she's a naturally bigger girl. That's all you can say about it. I mean, I know there's been some history of PED use with her as well. Not saying that's the total reason why she's as big as she is, but she's not small. So
by any means,
So I just don't see her. I mean, especially as she gets older, because she's not a young fighter anymore either. Yeah. So I just don't see her continuously being able to make 140. I don't ever see her being able to get to 135. So
yeah, definitely. So the hope in me, I would love to see her and Rousey finally get it on, but that with her and her weight loss problems that she had before, for her to get down to 135 to fight Rousey, the Holly Holmes, the Miesha Tate, the people that pretty much make the whole women's division, the UFC. I don't see that happening. So unless they can somehow try to get her to 145 and then try to have some people from that division and try to make a catch weight fight with her at a 145 range, I don't really see those fights happening. But I would absolutely love to. But that's a lot of weight loss, man.
Well, the current champ, Miesha Tate, did say she would consider a catchweight fight with her.
Okay, that's good, yeah.
So you might be able to get one of those. I don't think Rousey would do it just because the history and war words they've had over the years, and Rousey's basically stuck to her guns. Like, I'll fight her, but if she wants a belt, it's gonna be at 135. So
definitely gonna be on Rousey's terms, and she's the face of the UFC. So very interesting.
Yeah, real quick, I'll just jump in with a question. For people like myself who are kind of caught more in the mainstream of UFC, with this being Cyborg's first fight, what kind of a fighter is she? What are her strengths in the octagon, and where does she really seem to cause havoc for her opponents?
She's a Muay Thai based stand-up fighter. She does have also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background, but she basically just bullies other girls because she's just naturally bigger than most. Main fight most people would remember her from, if they've seen like a nationally televised fight, would be her versus Gina Carano, who was basically the it girl in MMA before Ronda Rousey, who moved on to do movies, Fast and the Furious and whatnot type of movies. But that was probably the biggest fight she's been in where she got the most publicity from. But she's a knockout artist. She has heavy hands and feet, and if she gets you rocked, she pounces on you. She wins most of her fights by knockout or submission. She's nasty all around.
Yeah, man, she is. Like Darnell said, man, she's an absolute bully. She'll stand up and she'll just take shots, just to deliver shots to you, man. So she's a beast. I'll say that. Like I said, I would love to see her fight Rousey, but with her being that heavy of a girl and trying to cut that much weight, that's putting a lot of stress on your body just time and time again when you're just fighting. And she's not young. She's about 30 years old. She's been in the fighting for a while now, so I don't think with her getting older and older, I don't think she's going to be making weight like she would, say, in her young 20s or so. So, but very skilled fighter though.
Yeah.
Anything else you got to ask us, man?
No, that just about covers it. I mean, I just figure with this being her UFC debut and MMA, vastly becoming more popular in the last 5 or so years. Yeah. She may not be necessarily a household name for many people. And I think that it is just good to kind of inform people who she is, what kind of a fighter. So people kind of have an idea of what to expect when they get to watch her.
Expect an ass whooping when she gets up in the ring, man. I'm telling you, when she gets in the ring with she's fighting Leslie Smith, right? That's her. Yeah, Smith. I know. Yeah, but Leslie Smith. I think she's gonna dominate Smith in that fight. I really do. But yeah, that woman is an animal, man. She definitely knows how to get dirty in fights. So
yeah, I'll be surprised if this fight makes it to the second round.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty. Another news we had with John Jones today, Darnell. Could you get more into that with his run-in with the police?
Yeah. Earlier this week, I believe it was Monday. John Jones was out driving. Saw some. He was leaving, hanging out with some of his teammates from Team Winklejohn and what's the other coach? Best MMA coach in
Greg Jackson.
Yeah, Jackson Winklejohn. Yeah, he was out with some of his teammates. Came up to a stoplight. Some fans were jawing with him, but I guess he kind of wasn't in the mood to chat and talk, so he kind of revved his engine to, see if they would stop, and light turned green and he pulled off. But I guess there was a police officer within viewing distance of this and immediately pulled him over. The whole thing was on the officer's body cam, and the sound is on it. I think TMZ has the sound. They got into it pretty well. Jones was, it's bleep, but he called him an effing pig, called him an effing liar when he was being told that he was being cited for 5 infractions, the biggest of which was drag racing. I was listening to a MMA show on SiriusXM where a lawyer called in and said that a lot of states revving your engine is enough to be pulled over for drag racing, so I assume that's why he's being cited for that. But yeah, it's not like the most crazy go off on a police officer I've ever heard, but probably not the smartest thing to do when you're already on probation for a hit and run on a pregnant lady.
Yeah.
Especially when you're calling the police officer out of his name. Side note, though, the funniest part of the exchange was after he got the citation, he asked the officer how he sleeps at night with himself, and the officer responds, usually on my side, sometimes on my back. I give him points for wittiness for coming back on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with that, he got cited. This was a violation of his probation that I spoke about earlier. I believe yesterday he turned himself in regards to a warrant going out for him.
Yeah. I just kind of wonder, is there anything, outside of MMA that, is causing him to, act up in certain ways? Now, I think the whole revving your engine thing, equating that to drag racing, I think that's kind of stupid. But, all the trauma and stuff he's been getting himself into, I kind of wonder, is there something outside of fighting that's, really causing him to, really be mad and do stupid stuff sometimes? Because, really, if that's the case, really needs to probably take a step back out of the UFC and just fighting in general and handle those issues before it really gets a hold of him. So that's just, crazy because I'm a huge John Jones fan. Love to see the guy fight. But, if he's going to keep getting in trouble, this can lead him to being not even fighting anymore due to him just continually just being a head case sometimes. So, hopefully, if there's something that's going on in this guy's life, it gets handled pretty well.
I think, it's twofold. Of course, every adult male is responsible for their own decisions. Every adult period is responsible for their own decisions. But he's also been coddled by the UFC because they knew he was their next star with Anderson Silva starting to get up in age. They knew they needed that next person, and this guy was it. He seemed to get better with every fight.
Yeah.
He was interesting in the ring, pulling out different stuff. He has a crazy story behind him. Both of his brothers are in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's a crazy athlete. He learned MMA basically from watching YouTube videos and then Greg Jackson saw him and invited him to camp. And basically, I mean, and the star was born there. But I mean, he's had numerous issues. I mean, even before the hit and run where he was finally stripped of his title, he had been ticketed 2 years earlier for drunkenly running into a pole in New York City with 2 females in the car, which neither were his at the time baby mother, now fiance.
Yeah.
So he's had plenty of issues where he really hasn't been punished by the UFC. And when you're that kind of athlete, you're the star, you're the face of an organization, you're getting money thrown at you at all times. I'm pretty sure his teammates and coaches knew that, some of the stories that have come out about him now, he's a big partier. I mean, nothing wrong with drinking. It's legal. I don't really care about marijuana either, but then he steps up to harder stuff, cocaine. He's showing the issues with that. I just think it's an issue of one of those athletes that has never seen repercussion of his actions.
Yeah.
And it's catching up now.
Like I said, when you're the champion too, and like one of the top guys of your company bringing in lots of money, that type of stuff can get to your head. Especially if you're not really getting properly punished like you should too. So, just hopefully he gets it together, before he ends up like one of those crazy athletes, just being a fool all the time, always getting in trouble for something. So hopefully this will be the last time we have to cover something like this from him. So any other things you guys got to say or anything like that before we move on?
Nope, just hopefully if there is still, I mean, he said he's been sober for since his incident, and I praise him for that. It's a good decision. Like it made me feel like he was taking steps to grow up, but looks like there's still some way to go. Yeah.
Alrighty, up next we have the NFL. One of the top stories that broke out was RG3's going to Cleveland. What are you guys' thoughts about him going to Cleveland, and what are your expectations for him?
Yeah, I'll start this one off since you just had a good rant there, Darnell. But in terms of RG3 getting a landing spot, I think I'll start with that. I'm definitely not surprised that he found somewhere to play for the upcoming season. RG3's talented. He had a great rookie campaign, but that was kind of all we saw out of him so far. So, I mean, in terms of RG3 still having stuff in the tank, I mean, it's definitely there. It's just a fact of whether he can stay healthy or not at this point in his career, which is unfortunate because it hasn't been that long. But in terms of it being Cleveland, I'm also kind of not surprised by that. We have a quarterback who really fell out of favor in Washington, lost his job to Kirk Cousins. And by the way, Kirk Cousins played, rightfully so. I think we'd all kind of agree with that. Kirk Cousins really showed some stuff to really win that starting job. And he led them down the stretch, got the playoff appearance. And that's good enough for me to win a starting job. But, in Cleveland, there's really going to be no expectation for him, which I think is what he needs. I think his confidence is shaken a little bit. He was the guy at Baylor. He was the guy for a couple years in Washington. And then he just kind of fell off the map and didn't really have anywhere that looked like he could turn for anything, really. So coming into the offseason, he was kind of one of those names floating around, kind of a big target. If a team needs a quarterback, they can look for him. So the fact that he landed in Cleveland, I think, was a really good opportunity for him to win a starting job. There's still a lot of talk with Cleveland drafting a quarterback or not. That will be interesting to kind of keep an eye on there, because RG3 is definitely starter material. Just once again, the health is going to be a big concern. So it'll be interesting moving forward to see what happens with RG3 in Cleveland, whether he's the guy they want or whether they're going to pick up, whether it be Carson Wentz in the draft or Goff. both guys are, presumed to be, some of the top picks in the draft. Definitely the first two quarterbacks taken off. And we know how Cleveland has had a carousel of quarterbacks just moving through in the last 20 years or whatever it's been. So it'll be interesting to see if RG3 is the guy they want to go with, or if they just got him for added competition for whoever they decide to draft.
Yeah. I'm glad, he finally got a place where he can kind of have a fresh start. Again, I was a little kind of shocked a little bit, but just how fast he signed. When I thought maybe he would have waited to see if he could possibly go to Denver, because I thought that would have been a great fit for him, with a great defense that Denver has, them pretty much having a huge, playing a huge factor in winning that Super Bowl. And then him, I think he would have been a good add for that offense with just his playing style. I thought maybe he would have waited out, see if he could get a deal in with Denver. But at the same time, I don't think he got the best of chances with the Redskins. So him probably just getting out of there and just jumping to the first thing, that he probably saw, he's probably just so happy to just get a fresh start, that he probably just signed with Cleveland. Not anything wrong with that, just hopefully he doesn't, as Tyler said, be like any of those former Cleveland quarterbacks that they've had before. So, hopefully, again, maybe a new change of scenery can just change a lot for a person. So hopefully he can just go in there and be a good leader and help that team win games.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. It's an interesting situation, I think, because, more Cleveland was his last best chance to sign with a team, from what it sounded like. Looks like, from what I read earlier this week, I guess John Elway did inquire about him, made some calls. Sounds like it might have just been to Mike and Kyle Shanahan, but they ended up backing off. And I guess the Rams, Jeff Fisher talked to some people about him, but just neither worked out. And Cleveland looked to be the landing spot. And I don't think it's really that crazy sounding looking at the contract that he signed for it. Looks like, it's just right around backup quarterback money he signed for. And this is a guy that 3 years ago was an offensive rookie of the year, and set records for like highest QB rating for a rookie and total yards from scrimmage for a rookie quarterback. So it looks like this was just his last shot, and he had to take it because, just honestly, I don't think anybody would put Cleveland at the top of their list if you were trying to show your improvement as a quarterback, since as of over the last 10, 15, 20, forever years, Cleveland's been the place where quarterbacks go to die, even if you are a number one draft pick. So it's an interesting situation. I do think they've got some good parts. I like the coach change that they made, Hugh Jackson. I'm still not sold on the ownership and front office in Cleveland, but looks like they're trying again. Hopefully they allow a coach to get 2 or 3 years to succeed. I hope he gets a fair shake to earn a starting spot, but looking at the contract, I can't be totally sure that they might not still be looking at Goff or something like that to come in, and I don't know, maybe
battle it out for a position.
Yeah, but it's just recent NFL ways. If you draft a quarterback with a top 5 pick, they're your starter day one. Those days are gone where you make a number 1 pick, but they still sit for 2 years and learn the program.
Yeah.
With him going into a new system, he's basically starting maybe with a couple months of a head start with having the playbook now, but really he's not going to have too much of an advantage over a rookie QB outside of the experience of being in the NFL for the last few years. So, I mean, I really don't know what to expect with this move. I mean, it's Cleveland, so they have a history of just not being good, and they still have some problems they need to fill, especially to protect somebody like RG3, who has had some issue with injuries, and his style of play can expose him. And then number two, if he is their starter, are they going to build their scheme to his strengths? Because it's just shown from the switch of schemes in Washington from going to Shanahan's scheme where he thrived because there was some read option thrown in there. They played to his ability to get outside and make stuff happen, and also was better for the running backs there, it seems, to switching now to a more traditional drop back type scheme. So I just wonder how they're going to set up things if they actually are planning for him to be a future franchise quarterback for him.
Yeah, you know, I'll kind of go off that a little bit, you know, talking about some of the pieces around RG3 if he is the presumed starter. You know, there's going to be some danger there for him because, you know, when you're trying to resurrect a career like he's going to currently try to be doing, he can't just kind of jump into this situation and be like, whatever happens, happens. Because if he fails, everybody's going to say, you know, this is just the end of RG3 and he had 1 year and he was just a blip on the map and now he's done. I mean, he still has to go out there and still fight for maybe another job with a third team. I mean, it's kind of a sad situation too, because Cleveland just doesn't have much going for it. It's just their history. And they don't have many pieces. I mean, is Josh Gordon actually going to last the season? Is he going to stay out of trouble? You know, just there's so many questions around that team. Where can RG3 even succeed there, even if he plays well? So is it going to be one of those times where we can see a great player just be, you know, engulfed by a terrible team and a great performance be overshadowed by a terrible team? Or is it going to be an opportunity for RG3, not necessarily to, you know, get Cleveland into the playoffs or anything like that, but to maybe make them respectable and have, you know, an 8-8 season or a 7-9 season where people go, okay, you know, it's not the end of the world to be on Cleveland's, you know, roster anymore.
Yeah, I'm totally in line with that. It's just it's a back against the wall situation for him here.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was the only place he could go. So I mean, you got to take the work where you can get it.
Absolutely.
But when your place of business is a place that should not possibly not even be in the league because of their history of being just terrible. It's hard on you. I mean, how many quarterbacks have come back and done well after playing in Cleveland?
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, I don't know that I can name one.
So I mean, that's a lot of history bearing down on you to try to prove something.
Yeah. All right, guys. Anything else on RG3?
Best of luck.
You took the words out of my mouth.
All righty. Up next, we're about to talk about Josh Norman. He reportedly wants $16 million a year. What do you guys think about that? Is he even worth it to you? What are your thoughts?
That's such a hard situation because he had a really good year. I mean, there's no denying that he was the best defensive back in the NFL last year. Like, you did not want to go against him. For my fantasy football team, I benched every wide receiver I had going against Josh Norman except Julio Jones, and I got very lucky. I got very lucky that week. That one catch Julio made was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even against Josh Norman, so whatever. But
that was against the linebacker.
That was against Luke Kuechly.
Yeah.
So, but it's one of those one of those situations there for me where is any defensive back really worth 16? It's for me.
Just to give you a little heads up, I think right now, Darrell Revis and Richard Sherman, those are the top two guys in the league. They're both bringing in about, I think, $14 million a year.
Yeah.
So Norman, if he gets this, it'll be $2 million more.
Yeah, and I mean, and like you said, by far the highest paid DB in the league.
Yeah.
But it's a guy like him is kind of hard to find, especially one who is as dominant as he is. I mean, he shut down just about everybody he faced last year.
Yeah.
And I mean, is it worth it to hold on to him? Maybe, but will you probably be overpaying for the position? Yeah.
I don't know. I just kind of feel like they're becoming that premium position on defense. I know pass rushers are always going to make money, but just with how the NFL is and the premium on wide open passing and scoring, if you have a dominant cornerback, you're going to have to pay for him. Revis got his money, Sherman got his money, Patrick Peterson got his money. Norman saw what he did last year, the work that he put on some key receivers, so he's asking for his. He like you said, he was the best corner in the league last year, so he's saying, damn it, I want to be the highest paid corner. He's saying 16, but I'm pretty sure if they said, okay, we'll give you 14 and a half, so you're making more than Dale Revis or Sherman or Peterson, I think he'd say, okay, cool, just make sure I'm the highest paid one.
Yeah.
Because the year I had. But I think that's becoming that one or 1A position on defenses now. I know you like to work from the trenches out, but the NFL is set up for, we want high scoring, we want the ball flying everywhere. So you're going to have to pay for corners that can actually deal with some of these receivers that are coming. I mean, how many people can you put up on a Julio or a Dez Bryant and expect them to do work?
I mean,
shut down like a third of the field.
And we also need to remember he single-handedly should have had Odell Beckham Jr. ejected from that game. That was all Josh Norman.
Yeah.
That was no scheme. That was just Josh Norman being Josh Norman, shutting down Julio or shutting down OBJ and getting him so pissed off that he, to unsportsmanlike conduct, he should have been gone.
Yeah.
But, and one thing we need to remember, too, is somebody is always going to be paid more than the previous guy who just got paid.
Yeah.
So it's all a matter of time until some defensive back gets 16. It's just, is it going to be this time?
Yeah. Now, you guys think he's going to get 16 or you think lower?
It might be a little lower, but he's going to get close to it.
Yeah. I think it'll be around 15, maybe 15 and a half. I think 15 and a half is going to be the high end.
Yeah, I can agree with that. One thing, I'm never going to get mad at somebody, that wants to get paid more. I mean, Darnell, if your boss came in and said, hey, man, I'm about to drop 16 mil on you this year, you're not going to complain. So, yeah. So, I mean, great talent, especially how he helped that defense get to the Super Bowl last year. He wants his money. Hopefully, he'll stay consistent like he did last year and just live up to it when they pay it. Because, everybody wants to get exactly what they want out of what they paid for. So, hopefully, if he gets this much money, which I think, if not 16 mil, is going to be pretty close to it. Hopefully he lives up to the money that's getting spent on him. So,
yeah, I think he probably will. I mean, it's been recent. Just especially with cornerbacks, they try to make the knock on of what type of defense they're in. Like that's been the knock on Norman. He's the best that you can get in that type of defense. Yeah. And like Sherman the last couple of years ago, he only plays one side of the field.
Yeah.
It's like, but he stops everybody
Okay,
on that
exactly.
side. Yeah. So give him his money.
Yeah.
So
now, you know, how you kind of brought it up, Darnell, you know, talking about the line and then, you know, how the offenses, how everything's ran up in the NFL. You know, people want to see pass and high scores and everything like that. Would you still say that the D-line is still like the most valuable position in football, or do you think defensive backs has taken over that with the style?
I would say defensive end, and then just behind it, lockdown corner.
Okay. What about you, Ty? You agree?
Yeah, you know, I would agree, because when you talk about, you know, what does a team need when we watch all these draft specials, the two positions you hear most are normally defensive ends and corners.
Back, yeah.
I mean, and if you just look at who are, you know, the defensive players we talk about J.J. Watt. We talk about, you know, now Josh Norman. We talk about Darrelle Revis. And so it's like, what positions do these guys play? They play corner and defensive end. Yeah. So, yeah, I completely agree with Darnell there. Those are probably the two premiums on defense for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I mean, it's a passing league right now. So, I mean, it's best if you can just get to a quarterback and not let them throw. I mean, just think Denver last year. Look at who they had on both sides. DeMarcus Ware, and why am I blanking? Von Miller. Yeah. They made life hell for every quarterback, especially in the playoffs. They made Tom Brady look mediocre. Exactly. And it was them doing it, getting to him every play. Yeah. So if you can do that, your cornerbacks, they really don't have to be that great. Yeah. But if you have a subpar to average defensive line and your ends aren't that great, if you have a stellar cornerback that can shut down half the field, that makes up a lot of ground for you too.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Anything else on this?
No.
All right, man. I'm ready for this news. This had me cracking up when I saw it today, man. But in the NBA, we got D'Angelo Russell leaking some rather interesting material about Nick Young today, with him supposedly cheating on Iggy. What do you guys think about this? I know the Lakers, they say the Lakers team have kind of like turned a shoulder to D'Angelo Russell with this whole incident. You know, what were you guys' thoughts when you first read this?
My thought was, well, he's just being like his mentor, Kobe.
I thought this too. Like, I was thinking, I was like, you know, when they said the whole Lakers, you know, turn their back on him, I was like, man, I just hope my dog Kobe, you know, still cool with him, man, because he kind of did the same
Kobe
thing.
Can't do it, yeah.
Yeah, you know, because he did it, you know, with Shaq, you know. Oh, Shaq do it too, you know. So hopefully, you know, out of anybody in the league, on the Lakers team, you know, hopefully Kobe, you know, he's cool with D'Angelo. So, yeah, what were your thoughts, Ty?
Yeah, just was watching some Sports Center this morning. Saw Stephen A. Smith on there and heard him on the radio too, you know, saying next to getting involved with a teammate's, you know, woman, this is probably the worst you could get. Yeah. Leaking locker room stuff that should stay in the locker room for the most part, you know, quote unquote locker room talk.
Yeah.
But definitely violated trust among everybody in the organization. So not a smart move. Not a smart move.
Yeah. My whole thing kind of like this, you know, especially with Nick Young, him being like 30 years old. You don't have to tell everybody your damn business, though. Especially, you know, if I was in that situation, you trust a lot of people. Do you still tell them every single thing that's going on, like stuff like that going on in your life? You know, I would, if it was, you know,
fair point, but
yeah, if it was me, you know, if you're doing stuff behind closed doors, you're supposed to keep it behind closed doors. If I was, because it looked like he was like on Skype talking to a girl while D'Angelo was filming Nick. So if I was doing stuff like that, I would have just told Russ, I said, look, man, you're going to have to get the hell out of here. Like, you're 19, go travel around the city, go do something. You know, I wouldn't be telling, you know, going around telling people stuff like that, especially if I'm dating somebody famous and, you know, TMZ and all these other outlets are just ready to just leak information like this about me. I would have kept that type of stuff to myself. You know, I don't mind. I'm all about trusting people and stuff, but some stuff you just supposed to just keep to yourself.
Trey, I get what you're saying, but this is Nick Young we're talking about.
That's true.
Swag EP.
Dude that gave himself a nickname. The guy that's known for just being ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's compared himself to Kobe.
Yeah.
He loves being in front of cameras talking to TMZ. He wants to be a celebrity.
Yeah.
He would take a reality show if they gave him one.
Yeah.
Oh,
For
definitely.
sure.
Yeah.
And that's probably what he saw in his future. I'm pretty sure that engagement is probably off, but
keeping up with the Youngs.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he saw it, or Love and Hip Hop LA, something.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he saw that coming in his future. But I mean, it's I don't condone cheating in any way.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is, I guess, an unfortunate situation on both sides. I mean, Russell did something stupid. Apparently, him and Nick Young have been pranking each other back and forth all year, doing stuff, and I think he
went too far, huh?
Yeah, he thought he was doing something funny, but it was like, dude, you're about to ruin a soon-to-be marriage. Like, I don't know how you didn't think that this might be the case.
Yeah.
Let me show some people my teammate talking to some other girl when he's engaged to a very famous, not very good, but very famous
come on, give her a break,
hip hop artist. I'm sorry, Iggy, but some songs are okay, but you're not that good.
I wouldn't apologize for that, but you know, it's one of those things too, where it's like, just why? If this was supposed to be a prank, there's got to be a time in that conversation where D'Angelo Russell knows to turn off the phone, where he knows to turn off the video. Like, common sense should prevail in a situation like that. I mean, I don't know what that Ohio State education for a couple of years or whatever it was gave him, but
fan had to throw that in.
Hey, just throwing a little shade, just a little bit. But it's just one of those things where you have to use better judgment. If something like that happens, when stuff gets real, you don't continue to play the joke. You just don't. You have to know when to call it quits. And I don't know if this was a situation where D'Angelo Russell thought, maybe I can, maybe show Iggy Azalea that something's going on behind closed doors that involves her, and there's no other way anyone's going to believe me.
You think you might have been going White Knight on it?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it's just one of those things where D'Angelo Russell potentially ruined the rest of his career with this.
Yeah,
especially in terms of his reputation. I mean, he can play, that's for sure. I mean, he belongs in the NBA.
Unless he turns out to have like ridiculous skills like Kobe, and people can look past that. Kind of like what Kobe did, the whole Shaq thing. But yeah, that wasn't really a good look for that's for the whole team and everything. So just them turning their back on him, that was pretty bad. So
yeah, I mean, like, I think Russell is starting to blossom into what everybody thought he might be on the second half of the year. He's looked like a very good, like, his future is looking bright on the court.
Yeah.
But you make a mistake like this, and I guess it's hard to deal with that when your teammates don't trust you. That ruins chemistry on a basketball court, too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, kind of like what I was telling you guys earlier, too, because Nick Young and Jordan Clarkson, they were allegedly involved in this sexual harassment thing that happened like a week or two earlier, where they were supposedly sexually harassing this older lady, I think her granddaughter or something like that, for them to be allegedly involved with that, and then for this to come out, and it's Nick Young talking about all these women he's with and all this other stuff is kind of, that could help bring a light to that whole situation too. So, just this whole, prank, that D'Angelo supposedly pulled on, Nick Young, that could really evolve into something much more worse than what the intent was originally supposed to be. So,
yeah.
Of course, this has to happen to my Lakers, man. But
everything's happening to your Lakers right now.
Dumpster fire.
True. Any other comments on this, guys?
Just stupid, and reality TV comes to the NBA.
Yeah. Alrighty. Up next, we just got about to talk about just Golden State real quick. Not that many games left at the regular season. You guys think they're gonna get the record?
Yeah.
Yeah, no reason to doubt it now.
Yeah, I mean, I heard a stat the other day. They have some 9 games left or something like that, maybe 8 by now.
Yeah.
But in their final 9 games of the season, they needed to go 7-2 to complete the 73-9 record.
Yeah.
And they have not played any 9-game stretch this year worse than 7-2.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any real reason to think that they won't get it. The only thing would be they play San Antonio twice, which is going to be some great TV.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Definitely tuning into both of those games if possible. But even if they lose twice to San Antonio, I don't see them losing their other games. I mean, they haven't really lost many. Well, obviously they haven't lost many games, but they haven't really had a game this year where you go, wow, that was just straight awful. They haven't looked real bad. I mean, they've lost a few, but you can't expect a team to go 82-0.
Yeah.
I mean, this might be the closest we'll ever see, but with that whole stat of them going no worse than 7-2 in any 9-game stretch is enough for me to say they'll get the record for sure.
Yeah. Just a heads up. They got the Celtics, Trailblazers, Timberwolves, 2 games with the Spurs, 2 games with the Grizzlies, and I think that's it for them. Tough is if they can get past the Spurs, they got it. So the rest of the schedule, it should be pretty easy for them to manage. So just the Spurs, and which should be some good games. But I think they got it. Now with you, Darnell, I was going to ask you because you love the Bulls. Jordan, them guys. Getting that record and just dominating like they did. Do you want to see this record broken, or do you still want to see the Bulls still have it?
I'm kind of torn on it. I mean, I'm a big MJ fan. Greatest ever. That team, I think, is the greatest team ever. I mean, still to this day, I think if you put both of those teams against each other, the Bulls win in 5. But I mean, it's always fun to see history.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's more so if I want to see it or if I've just accepted that it's probably going to happen.
Yeah.
Just because this team is unreal, and it helps that we got a Sparty that's a key player on that team. Beyond Steph, the number 2, the Pippen on the team is Draymond. So. So that softens the blow for me a little bit, but yeah. I mean, I just think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. Like 538.com, that's Nate Silver's website, statistician that called the presidential election perfectly 2 cycles ago. Basically, they put it at a 89% chance that they get 72 games, 66% chance of them getting 73 and getting the record. So, odds are with them that they get to that 73 mark.
Yeah. Just real quick, I just give a huge shout out to Steve Kerr just for playing on, don't know for sure yet, but the greatest team ever. And then, just in his second year to coach possibly the greatest team ever. So, that's one hell of a thing to add on your resume, that you played for one of the greatest teams ever and you coached one of them the best ever too. So that's just truly just shows, how he has evolved in the game and, still just winning, which is more important than anything. So,
yeah. And another quick point, I think it's something that's kind of being, overlooked a little bit is how, well rested these guys are. Steph Curry's not even in the top 15. I don't even think he's in the top 20 for minutes played this year.
Yeah.
Draymond Green's not even in the top 20. So, I mean, two of their best players are fully rested, playing only a couple minutes into the fourth or not even at all in the fourth quarter. Yeah. So they're doing this really with their best players playing a little over 3/4 of the game.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Anything left on this?
No, it's history of the making.
Yeah. Up next, we're about to talk about Patrick Ewing. He made some comments regarding that he would have not liked to play for a super team. Just what are your guys' thoughts on his statement that he made?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, this is just, I guess it's just another one of those just differences between now and then. I mean, Ewing played in a time where there were, I don't know, like it still seemed like better players always migrated to just a few teams, and those teams were always good. I mean, if you go back and look at some of the great teams, they were basically super teams. It's just they weren't made through free agency. It was through trades and the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, the Lakers of the 80s, that was a damn super team. You have Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
James
Worthy, Sam Perkins, Vlade Divac after that, Byron Scott. Yeah. This was a great team. You look at the Celtics. You got Bird, you got McHale, you got Parrish, you got DJ. This was a super team by those metrics of basically the numbers that those players put up. The Bulls, Jordan, Pippen, Rodman. What you got 3 All-Stars on the team. Three the top 20 players in the league at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you
3
go back
top
and
50 players of all time.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's built a different way. The players are taking it into their own hands and setting up their great team. I guess at least in the Celtics case, and then following that up in the Heat's case, because I just point that out because I feel like Garnett and company don't get any of the grief that LeBron James gets for doing it.
Yeah,
they did
it
first.
was completely team, too. So,
but it's just, I don't know. I just feel like it's a little bit of hate that they didn't think of it first.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with your whole logic there, and definitely agree with Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen definitely not seeing the same hate for doing what they did. But I think, like you were kind of alluding to there, Darnell, it's a little bit more of a pride factor back in the 80s and 90s that we don't necessarily see now. I think now it's a lot more about, just getting a ring by any means necessary, as to back in the 90s, it was just about being the best and being the guy.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it's a mentality. And I think especially since, back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, you'd kind of handpick a couple guys that you could throw on the all-time list and throw a few in here and a few in there. But kind of when the 90s rolled around, we kind of got a big bunch, and we kind of started saying, all right, well, Michael Jordan's the best, and Patrick Ewing's really good, and Larry Bird might be the best. And, we start really digging into the discussion of best all time. And I guess logically we start turning to rings, and the players today start saying, okay, well, if they're going to judge me on the rings, let's just go win rings. Like if nothing else is going to matter, if whether I score 25 points a game, 20 points a game, 15 points a game, if I have 6 rings, I'll be on that list. And I think that that's more what the players are looking at today, because that's what we decide to circle the discussion around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And just to lean on what I was saying earlier too, like, I mean, the idea of super teams, they go back even further than the Celtics were the first ones to do it and win. But I mean, like, you had the Lakers try it with getting Gary Payton and Karl Malone to join up with Shaq and Kobe.
But they were old as hell though, man. So
they were still
did it.
Considered all-stars at the time.
Yes.
Oh, man.
They were still at that level.
Now, you know, if this was GP, you know, Karl Malone at like 26, 27, all right. But old ass Karl Malone and old ass GP.
But still, the thought process was, we have Shaq and Kobe, who are right now possibly the 2 best players in the NBA. If we put these 2 veterans that are still above average to really good players.
Yeah.
And Peyton, when he first got there, he wasn't bad. He was still a really good player. Malone was aging and was a foot out the door. Go before that. I mean, I would say the first person that kind of tried to muscle his way into that is Charles Barkley. First, he went to Phoenix to be there with Dan Marley and Kevin Johnson. Lost to the Bulls, played a couple years there in Phoenix. Then he goes to Houston to be with Clyde Drexler and Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yeah.
But it just didn't happen again. So, I mean, the idea has been around. It's just it didn't start to work until the Celtics, LeBron, Wade, and Bosh.
And I guess another point there is, you know, we didn't see hate with it until LeBron did it.
Till the most polarizing player in the NBA.
And that was basically what I was just about to say too. It's, you know, it's the fact that, you know, we love to criticize the best. And if you're going to be the best, you should be able to do it on your own. When in reality, it's kind of never been the case since the NBA has gotten super competitive, more so in the 80s.
Like every championship team had like
2 or guys
that could
they all do. And granted, you know, I like, and I guess it's part of being, you know, the hometown boy here, but I kind of like to exclude the 04 Pistons from that list a little bit, mainly because, you know, I guess I like to think that none of those guys were exactly studs. They all just kind of clicked together and played really well together. But I mean, Sheed was a stud.
I was gonna say Sheed was
you know, a beast defensively.
And Sheed was a stud, and you know, Ben Wallace won 4 straight Defensive Player of the Years, and Hamilton was lethal at the time. So you know, I like to look at that team and try to tell myself, okay, you know, they weren't necessarily this super team. They were just 5 good players that gelled together. I mean, I don't necessarily know if they're today's standards of a super team, but they definitely were formed and not kind of created, if you will.
I think most would leave them out of that just because, it was just one of those lightning in a bottle situations where they got a perfect group with a coach that knew how to work them all together, and they made magic happen.
And you know, and I also think some of it is the fact that they did beat that Lakers team that did have Shaq and Kobe. And I think the fact that they beat them was kind of like slaying the giant, and therefore they don't kind of get that same press of, you know, getting guys together like some of these other teams have.
They beat the super team.
Pretty pissed off that year, man.
So I mean, but as much as I like to try and exclude that Pistons team from a list like that, you kind of can't. I mean, you can probably make the best argument for that 04 Piston team, but I don't know if you can necessarily give them a free pass.
I kind of think you can. I mean, they have Hall of Famers, but
I don't think they had like a huge just star player. You know, you think like a Shaq or a Kobe, a Jordan.
They clearly didn't have that. But I guess what I'm trying to say is they still had to bring in a missing piece or two in order to do it.
Yeah. The trade that fell into Joe D's lap to get Rasheed Wallace, that won them.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That was that. And I mean, everybody knew he's a top 10 talent. He's just crazy.
Yeah.
So, Larry Brown was able to keep him in check, and they made magic happen. But I mean, they did have a superstar talent. It's just where his head was at never allowed him to be a media market superstar, getting endorsements and whatever. But I mean, Rasheed Wallace was a top 10 player at the time.
Yeah, completely agree.
Now, like for you guys, if we all were on playing in NBA, would you guys join a super team, or like how would you have handled the situation if you played?
Now, are we considering ourselves superstars in this conversation?
Sure, why not? Yeah, superstar.
Because I know I'm clearly not. But I mean, say you were a top 20 talent in the NBA.
Yeah.
I mean, I think joining a super team would definitely be very appealing. It would be very, I guess now that the Warriors are pushing history, it would be kind of how good can we get?
Yeah.
One of those type of scenarios. And I've had this conversation with other people, would you want to be the guy in an organization, or would you rather kind of blend in and be on a very good team? I always tend to lean towards being the guy, because then you can get paid and live the rest of your life happy. I mean, you may not have a ring or anything, but you made your money and you will stand out as one of the better players. And, right now I kind of view it like Anthony Davis, just a really good player, kind of on a mediocre team.
Yeah.
And, everybody notices Anthony Davis, and we see Cleveland where they're not talking about Kevin Love like they used to talk about Kevin Love.
Or Kyrie,
or Kyrie Irving too. Yeah. So I mean, for me, it's one of those things where there's definite benefit to being the guy in an organization. There's definite respect in being the guy, but in terms of wanting to get a ring, I think your best option is going to be to join one of these super teams now.
With me, I'm a guy, I care about the money. So, if I was playing, just give me my damn money. I don't care. I played on a losing team. I played in high school. We sucked ass. And, I'm okay with that. I just want to get paid. So, but, in a LeBron situation where he's talking about, like his best friends, Dwayne Wade, CP3, Carmelo, it would be fun to, just get on the court, every other day and just ball out with your friends, I understand that would be cool, but me, I would just, if I'm not getting paid like I want to, I don't care. So, the championships are nice, but I just want to get paid, that's just me coming, from my standpoint. But, LeBron, like I said, nothing like just going out there, just playing, with people you just absolutely just enjoy being around. So, nothing beats that experience, but, just me being me.
Yeah. I mean, I guess for myself, I mean, I don't make millions of dollars like this, so I don't know if my opinion would change, but I mean, I feel like if I was able to do something where I make 3 or 4 5 million whatever in a season, and I'm able to do it with my best friends and just kind of have fun doing something like that, and I'm still making a ton of money, where if I'm smart, I will never be broke for the rest of my life, and neither will my kids or my kids' kids. Yeah, I would do it. I mean, that I work with one of my best friends in my day job, and I mean that's one of the things that makes getting through the day fun. So, I mean, I don't see why it would be different if you were in the NBA making millions of dollars. Like, I'm getting paid to do something I like, and I'm working with my boys.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Now, like, what about would you kind of be like? Because one guy, is David West for the Spurs. He was making bank, but he took a huge pay cut. To finally test it out, say, hey, I got an opportunity to play with a championship team to finally get this ring. Would y'all possibly do that, like make a lot of money the first part of your career, and then once you're at
Absolutely.
the decline, hey, let me go join this team, see if we can get one.
Absolutely.
All right, yeah. What about you, Darnell? You would?
I mean, yeah. I mean, of course. I mean, you do something like that your whole life. You want to be part of a team that you can say, I played in the best team this year on this whatever year, and we got our ring. Yeah. I mean, I think I would, especially if I've had a career like that where I've made all my money and just there's one thing I need to check off my list and get a ring. Yeah. I'd be a headhunter for my last couple years of being at least a good enough player to make a roster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hear you. All right. Anything left to say on this, guys?
Quit hating, Patrick.
All right. All righty. Next, we're about to get into is college basketball. Man, this has been an absolute joy to watch. What were you guys' thoughts on the Elite Eight before we get to the Final Four?
I'm no longer picking basketball games since I'm the kiss of death for teams. I feel now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I know one comment I made last week was, is Villanova going to be for real? And I think that they have definitely proved it. And for me, I think it was a little bit of a shock, only because I knew they could score the ball. They got Archie Diacono or whatever his name is. I knew he could shoot. I knew that they have some good low post presence, but they're doing it on the defensive end. The defensive end setting the tone for them. They're forcing turnovers left and right. They're getting out in transition. Yeah. They're scoring off of layups and 2-on-1s and 3-on-1s, and they're really picking up intensity on both ends of the ball, and it's benefiting them greatly. And it's put them into the Final Four, beating the number 1 overall seed in Kansas. I expected, even though I had Villanova losing to Miami, Florida in my bracket, I wasn't surprised that they beat Miami, Florida. A little surprised that they beat Kansas, but the way they're playing, they definitely deserve to be where they're at.
If you can empty it.
You there, Darnell?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's been it's been going on. It's been a crazy season where everything has happened. Anything and everything has happened. Villanova, like Ty said, showed that finally they're not that team that chokes out early when you have high hopes for them. They're looking to grab that brass ring for themselves. We have a double-digit team now in the Final Four. Trey's Syracuse boys made their I still am just confused that they're in there.
Yeah, that was just shocking to me, man, because I was watching them that game, and I was like, oh, geez. I was like, man, they're about to get blown out. So, I go, like, do something else, and then, like, the last, like, couple minutes of the game, I look back, I'm like, wow, these guys actually caught up and actually winning the game. So I got to give them, huge credit for that. They're showing that, they're just giving it all, man. They may not have the top tier talent, but, they're playing together and, want to get that championship, raise that banner. So that was just phenomenal. I was shocked how they can, just caught up at the end like that.
Yeah, it's that vaunted 2-3 defense just causing havoc. Forcing teams to shoot some threes. They, you know, a lot of the credit goes to that defense really putting pressure on shooters and whatnot. But they make teams that shoot a decent three ball get a little overconfident in shooting the three.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw Virginia go through a couple stretches in the game where they were just ice cold, and they didn't really seem to have much going for them, yet they continued to shoot the three, because in a 2-3 zone, that's where you're going to find the weakness if you can't get it inside. You're going to have open guys on the wing, and if you have a guy who's a shooter, a wide open three on the wing isn't a bad shot. I mean, you'll take that most times.
Yeah. So,
it's one of those things where the defense is just coming together at the right time. I mean, they're not, they're not very impressive offensively. Yes, they're scoring points and making shots, but they're doing a good job of keeping the other team in check offensively. And that, along with, Jim Boeheim just being a legendary coach and being in this situation before, it really boils up for a pretty good recipe.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the Elite Eight, guys?
Not much.
I know
on the Elite.
Okay. Yeah, I know it killed. Yeah, I know it killed a lot more brackets. A lot of people at Kansas winning it all are now done.
Yeah.
I don't know many people that have, all four teams. I don't think I know any that have all four.
Yeah.
I know a couple that have 3 of the Final Four, and I know a lot with 2.
Yeah.
So definitely Syracuse kind of being the odd one out for sure.
Yeah. There was this one guy, he put $100 on. I don't know if you guys read
Yep,
this, but yeah,
I did see this.
So yeah, if Syracuse win, he's getting $100,000. So I'm pulling for the guy, man. Go.
Yeah, absolutely.
He took the risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do know a lot of people who had Oklahoma coming out of that bottom left side of the bracket. So with that not really being a surprise, if you have 3 of the 4 at this point, you're doing really well. Most likely winning your office pool or
a lot better than us,
your buddies.
I'll say that.
Yeah.
I mean, I got 2. I mean, my bracket's not great, but it's not in shambles. I still have my champion intact. So
yeah,
North Carolina, hopefully they can get past this defense that they've already seen twice this year.
Yeah.
Well, mine's busted.
Was a while ago, if I recall.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, was that your only bracket, or did you have any left that are pretty decent, or was that the only one that you did was for our?
I did ours, and I did like a couple others with like work and one and a friend. Go too crazy with picking stuff. I just go with what I'm thinking. So none of them were too far different. Like maybe a different pick here and there, but
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but overall, all of mine are screwed. So
yeah. I mean, but in reality, and I still tell people this: if you picked Michigan State to win it all, it was still a good pick.
Yeah.
It was just unfortunate.
One of those days, man.
Jim Boeheim just came out 3 days ago and said, "I did not think we would get past Michigan State."
Yeah, yeah, no, and it was one of those things where, by the benefit of some other teams losing, they've gotten this far.
Yeah,
I mean, still credit to them for beating the teams they've had to play.
For sure.
But the road was definitely their yellow brick road.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you guys this. You guys are like the top, you guys love your college basketball, of course, When, recruiting, that's just big in all of college. Like when a team like Michigan State loses early, than expected, like, does that have an effect on the recruiting at all? Like, will there like a top guy that's interested in the team will decide, hey, you guys?
I don't think he knows who Josh Jackson is.
What happened?
No, Josh Jackson's just a really big recruit looking at Michigan State. Wouldn't be surprised if he still chooses to go there. I guess I'll give my quick little 2 cents in on that. I don't think it plays too much of a factor, only because a lot of these times either these kids have always wanted to go to the school that they choose, or they like the recruiting class coming in.
Okay.
I feel like college basketball, it's a very different recruiting field than in football. In football, you'll see a lot of players, back out of a agreement that they made to go. You don't see that as often in basketball.
Yeah.
I think, I guess we can use Michigan State as an example because they are kind of the big school that got bounced. I don't think anybody who has committed or is going to end up going to Michigan State is going to back out. It has everything to do with the program and nothing to do with the misfortune that happened. If a player's looking at Duke or North Carolina and, they said they want to go there, those programs are big enough to hold somebody no matter what happens, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. Like if you look at next year's rankings for recruiting, it's Duke, Kentucky, and Michigan State. Yep. Only one of those teams made it to the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
And Michigan State, if they get Josh Jackson, who looks like he might still be leaning towards coming to state because two of his buddies are already committed, that will push them up to the number one class. So they lost in the first round.
Yeah. Alrighty. What are you guys, just thoughts? Yeah, just overall, heading up into this Saturday.
I think we got two really good matchups. We also have two very different games moving forward. Villanova has shown they can play fast, and they've shown they can control the tempo, and Oklahoma likes to play fast. Buddy buckets. We'll see. I think that's going to be the higher scoring game of the two. I think it'll be very interesting to see if Buddy Hield can continue to carry this team. Will he put up another 35 points plus and propel them into the finals, or are we going to have to see somebody else on that team step up and kind of take some of the responsibility and make it a real team effort? And then on the other side, with North Carolina, Syracuse, those two teams also kind of very interesting. Both of these teams have previously played this year, or both matchups have previously been seen this year already. Oklahoma won the previous meeting between the two very early in the season, and North Carolina won both matchups with Syracuse. I think this North Carolina-Syracuse game is going to be little lower scoring. I think we're going to see North Carolina really utilize Bryce Johnson in the middle of the 2-3 zone that Syracuse likes to run. I think we're going to see North Carolina just swallow up rebounds all game long and really kind of minimize what Syracuse wants to do offensively. I think they're going to try and force them into a lot of jump shots, which is not exactly Syracuse's game. But I think we're going to see North Carolina move on, as well as I think we're actually going to see Villanova take this one for some reason. I really like Buddy Hield. I love what he's done. He's been a great, asset for college basketball this year. But I just, for some reason, Villanova's really making me buy in. And I just really liked their performance against Kansas, and I think that's going to give them enough energy and fuel to win one more and get to the real show.
Yeah, I agree with you as far as like the type of games we're going to see. I definitely think I'm more excited to see Villanova and Oklahoma because I think that's just going to be just a mile a minute, just back and forth. The pace is going to be crazy. But I think I have Oklahoma going with this. I mean, Buddy Hield's just been, just flat out amazing.
Out.
Yeah, I think he secured his Player of the Year award, his Wooden Award, with his last two games. So I'm going with them there. Anybody listening, you might want to pick the opposite team while my luck's been going. So, and then as far as UNC Syracuse, it's been an amazing run, but I just think that the talent level shows here, and UNC takes care of business. unless they just fall apart and decide to shoot all threes and start missing them. As long as Roy Williams doesn't fall apart on the sideline, I think he should be able to coach his way into winning this game just based off the superior talent he has. And then that would make me excited to see a UNC Oklahoma matchup. I think that's the marquee out of the 4 teams left.
Yeah.
I think that would definitely bring the most hype for a college final out of the 4 teams we got left, that Oklahoma North Carolina matchup. But, like I said, just for some reason, I've seen enough out of Villanova defensively and offensively to believe that they can win this game. Not discrediting what Oklahoma can do. They can definitely shoot the ball. They shoot the ball at a very efficient rate, which is actually very impressive considering, Buddy Hield may score 35 plus, but they have other guys pouring it in too.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Any other statements, guys?
No, I think we covered it there.
All righty.
Just go Tar Heels. Believe it or not, I've never picked the national champion correctly, so this might be my year.
All right.
This might be my year. I've gotten them into the national championship game, but I've never picked them.
Yeah. Just to let you guys know, I'm going to go with Nova and Syracuse this weekend. So
yeah, you got to stick with Cuse.
Yeah, man. I think the thing with me for Syracuse, they've been tested like hell this tournament. So, there should be nothing coming into this game that they haven't saw. They know with a team like North Carolina, they know not to get a big lead ahead of them like they did with Virginia. So just hopefully if they can keep the game close, hopefully they can just edge it out. But either way, man, I got to give you guys credit regardless. This tournament, man, I'm definitely going to be tuning into this years to come, man. This is just exciting basketball. So, always, it's kept me glued to my seat the whole time, man. So it's fun, except for Syracuse and Virginia when I thought they were about to get blown out. But other than that, the games have been fantastic. Yeah, I got to give you guys props for that for sure.
Yeah, there were a couple games I turned away from that I shouldn't have, but especially that A&M Northern Iowa game, I turned away from that one, and we saw what happened. So it's a fun time of year for sure. I'm glad you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely gonna be checking this stuff out a lot next year, man. It's good basketball. So I don't know if it could take my NBA away, but it's
hey, you thought Kobe even was in the stands for some college.
Yeah, man, he was. I saw he was took a picture with Buddy Hield.
Yeah, he's giving Buddy Hield some props there.
So yeah, my man Kobe. He got respect for the sport. So yeah, I'm going to tag along with it next year for sure. So
hey, maybe you and Kobe can get together and catch a few games.
Yeah, man.
He won't have anything to do next year, so
that's true.
Hey, hit him up early.
Especially with this fiasco going on with LA right now, but disappointment.